Okay, looks like the recording has started. So I sent out the agenda, or everybody got the agenda, I guess, from Cindy, actually. So we're going to do welcome and introductions. And as we go around the room, if you're new to this meeting, feel free to introduce yourself, kind of say what your business does, what services you do, and if you have any announcements, anything coming up that the rest of the vendors might need to know. Those are good things to kind of talk about too when you're introducing yourself. We'll start with the internal staff, and then I will go alphabetically through all the businesses that have emailed me and RSVP'd. And then if there's anybody that I haven't gotten or said at the end, then we'll just kind of see who else is left. So we'll do introductions, then we have a request for proposal to discuss, and then our 2024 rate setting. Paul's working on that right now. You guys will hear from him next month, but he'll be talking about our 2024 rate setting. Then our Children's Long-Term Support Waiver Program will give a few updates, and then our Comprehensive Community Services Program will give some updates. So that's what's on the agenda. I'll introduce myself. I used to know everybody in these meetings, but it's getting to a point where I don't, and not everybody knows me. So my name is Chris Sander, and I'm the Contract Unit Supervisor. And maybe we'll have the contract staff go first.
Everyone, I'm Paul Mettinger, a contract specialist for Human Services.
Hi, I'm Sabrina Clemerson. I'm also a contract specialist for Human Services.
Hi, I'm Cindy Werschke. I'm the contract unit clerk. I'm the one you send your signed contract to. So.
And then can we have other internal staff maybe start with ISRS? I guess probably everybody's from ISRS.
Sure. I'm Ryan Ross. I am one of the program supervisors in the CCS program.
Hi, I'm Christy Harold. I'm a QA supervisor for the section. And so my staff actually work on all of your billing.
Hi, I'm Ellen Daubert. I'm one of the CCS and CLTS supervisors working in the department. We also have Shelly, and she's off today, and Angie's running a little late, so she may not be on.
Hi there, I'm Emily Ingling, assistant manager with our section specifically related to CCS, CLTS, BRTA 3, and CSP.
Hi, I'm Annalise Trinka. I see some familiar faces. I'm a program specialist in CCS and CLTS, so doing some projects and working more to support vendors. So if I haven't met you yet, I might meet you soon.
I think that might be all of our internal staff. Do we have any other internal staff on? Okay. I will go through the vendors alphabetically as I have them. And then again, if there's anybody else on that I don't call your name, then at the end, we'll have an opportunity for that. Adams and Associates.
Hi, I'm Sue Johnson, and hopefully I have the settings right this time and you can hear me.
Yep.
We do work very closely with Adult Protective Services and the ADRC, providing annual reports, annual reviews of people who are in protective placements. And the one update I have is we hired a couple of new staff. I was fortunate enough to hire a couple of people who have retired from La Crosse County in Adult Protective Services. So we have some good expertise on the staff.
Great. Great. Active.
Good morning. My name is Lisa Duncanson. I believe there's a couple of us on at least, but introducing myself, I am our Regional Services Director for Aptive, which currently we're contracting with CLTS to provide services to youth in La Crosse County. And we also have a program operating out of Black River Falls. So some youth served in that area as well. And I think you're on, aren't you, Tyler?
Thought I saw Tyler on. Well, Tyler was on. I'm sure he might be here somewhere. So, Attic.
Hi, I'm Carla Campion with Attic Correctional Services. We provide services in La Crosse, both with the CCS program and the outreach program. And no updates at this time.
I see Mark. Did you want to introduce yourself or did you want to add anything? Maybe he can't unmute. Okay. So Mark Wakefield is also on. Bethany St. Joseph. Okay.
Whoops,
Black?
there we go. Hi, no, this is Karen
Oh,
Savage
okay.
from ESJ. Sorry, my camera's not working for some reason. But yeah, I'm here. We work with you primarily on adult day services, I believe.
All right. Anybody from Black on?
My name is Danielle Person, and I'm the youth advocate for Black and Rhymes. I service youth ages 12 to 24.
Catholic Charities?
Hi, I'm Charity. I'm the finance coordinator for Catholic Charities. I'm on, and I believe we have one other party that is on as well.
My name is Olivia Lee, program coordinator for the Community-Based Services Program and Live By.
Okay. CC We Adapt? Okay. Children's Wisconsin? All right. Cholita.
Hi, oh, sorry. Emily,
Go
are you
ahead,
going?
Terry. Go ahead.
I'm Terry Gowie. I'm the Chief Operating Officer, and we serve families through family guidance, daily living skills, psychoeducation, and music therapy through both CLTS and CCS. And I'll let Emily add anything she wants to add.
Emily Fellons, the Clinical Director of China Behavior Solutions. So it's the department that oversees the CLTS. And then Amanda's in as well.
Hi, I'm Amanda from the Mental Health Services of Cholita. I think I saw Nicole on here as well.
Good morning, I'm Nicole Jones, and I am the Director of Finance here at Cholita.
Okay. Christian Servants Home Care?
Good morning, everyone. Matt Groh from Christian Servants. We are statewide CLTS, and we are actually just delving into some CCS work in a few of our counties as well now. I think that's about it.
Dear Pat? Essential Skills?
Hi there, my name is Bill Humphrey. I'm with Essential Skills Peer Support. My background is in wilderness therapy and outdoor education, and I work with young adults and adults, mostly doing mindfulness and recovery, wellness, and independent living skills. And I do have some openings coming up after August for some young adults or adults, if anyone has any referrals for me.
Okay. Family and Children's Center?
Hi, I'm Mary Jacobson. I'm the Wisconsin Director of Programs at Family and Children's Center.
I'm Ann McDonald, and I'm the CFO at Family and Children's Center.
Okay, Fix It Fitness.
Hello, I'm Megan Radel. I'm CEO of Fix Fitness. Robert will be joining us. He's just with a client till 11, so he'll come on a little bit later. And what we do is we work with people with their wellness management of helping them work through mental, physical recovery and behavioral health through physical fitness. So that's about it. Robert will be on later, so.
Thanks. Flux Guardians.
Hi, I'm Renee, Program Manager at Flax Guardians. And I think we have Rochelle on too.
I'm here. I'm the business manager at Flax Guardians.
Okay. Flying Horse.
Morning. This is Lisa Carmichael at Flying Horse Stable. We do CCS program and provide equine learning programs for the kids. No updates at this time, but good to see everybody.
Great. Game U.
Hi everybody, my name is Brad Cohen from Game U. At Game U, we teach students of all ages and abilities how to make their own video games. So we teach them about coding, programming, 3D modeling, animation, as well as creative writing. We work with CLTS and IRIS clients.
Welcome. Geyer. Independent Living Resources.
Good morning. This is Sarah Eklund. I'm the Executive Director with Independent Living Resources, and just want to apologize in advance. I do need to leave a little bit early.
Innovative Services.
I'm Tom Farians. I'm the mental health professional for Innovative. Vanessa couldn't make it today. She had another engagement. So.
Life and Harmony.
Hey everyone, my name is Amy Shack and I'm the founder and CEO at Life in Harmony. Our agency, we're a vendor through CCS and we offer skills and wellness services. We work with adults and children, and we also service individuals with the waiver program. Our primary facility is in West Salem, and then we have outreach locations up in Black River Falls, Toma, and we have a team of 7 music therapists, and then we've recently been expanding our administrative team, and our director of operations is here. And I'll have Holly introduce herself now. Thank you.
Hey guys, I'm Holly Skinner. As Amy said, I am the new Director of Operations with Life in Harmony, and then my team is also supporting them with billing.
Welcome. Mastering Life Skills.
Hi, I am Stacy Mass. Currently, we service La Crosse County, and we offer for youth and adults.
Nystrom Counseling.
Good morning. My name is Annie Pope with Nystrom Counseling. We provide outpatient therapy and psychiatry services.
Parenting Peer.
Hi, I am Bailey with Parenting Peer. I offer peer parent.
Oh, you muted yourself.
There it is for CCS in the crisis unit. Did you get that peer parent support? I don't know what you heard. And with a focus on child parent violence.
Welcome. Peace of Mind Counseling.
I am Jay Clark with Peace of Mind Counseling, and really no updates to offer today.
Andrea Palmazek. Star Center.
Hi, my name's Bree Colton. I'm the program coordinator for the Star Center. We offer adapted sports, parasports, and specialized exercise programs in the La Crosse area, but we'll serve anyone who's willing to make the drive to La Crosse. I'm new to these meetings, so it's nice to meet everybody. We just started contracting with CLTS.
Welcome. Stein Counseling.
Good morning, everyone. This is Kim Stein. I'm the clinic administrator, and we offer outpatient counseling services, in-home counseling, NMT services, and parent risk assessments.
And I'm Jen Tavist, and I am the Community Services Program Leader.
Strides Equestrian.
Hello, my name is Heidi Lenz. I am the administrator for Strides Equestrian Therapeutic Center, and we offer individual skills and development enhancement services and wellness management and recovery. We offer therapeutic riding, equine assisted services, mentoring, art wellness, and yoga wellness. Nice to meet everybody.
Success for Life.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ben Nieser, and I represent Success for Life, coming to you from Colorado, where this company was founded in 2015. We're actually Success for Life tutoring services. So I'm a service provider out here in Wisconsin, doing educational support, and I'm the program administrator in Wisconsin. We're new to operating in Wisconsin, but we're not new to Wisconsin. I'm from St. Paul originally and went to college in River Falls. My boss and our CEO is from La Crosse, and his parents still live there. So Chad and I are both just so excited to be accepting clients in Western Wisconsin. We do in our program in Wisconsin, we provide individual skill development, employment related skills training, and wellness management and recovery and services to both youth and adult clients. We're working with CCS and CLTS, and it's great to meet you all this morning and hear about all the different interesting service providers that there are out here working together. It's really exciting.
Thank you. The Parenting Place.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jody Wiedock. I'm the executive director at the Parenting Place. I have one announcement, which is our Children's Festival is on Saturday, August 19th. That's a wonderful free event for families with especially young children. So watch for more promotion and share that information with the families you're working with. They will have an absolute blast. And then I will turn it over to Susan Fossen and Marilyn Huckenpuller to introduce themselves.
Thanks, Jody. I'm Susan Fossen, and I supervise the family navigators who do the children's long-term functional screens, as well as the family peer support providers who work with CLTS and CCS. Here in La Crosse County, the family navigators do both La Crosse and Monroe County. And I'm Marilyn Huckenpuller. I'm the director of the primary prevention department, which encompasses social and emotional needs functions.
Okay. Mark.
I'm Jessica Fitting. I'm the Child and Youth Coordinator at BARC.
Wendy Rich. Wisconsin Family Ties.
Hi, I'm Janet Adolphson with Wisconsin Family Ties, and I handle all of the invoicing. And we also have Sarah Solomon here, but I know we're having some computer issues, so I'm not sure if she's on yet or not. So,
okay. YWCA.
Hi, I'm Roseanne Northwood, the Director of Housing, and I'm here in Laurie's Place today. So it's nice to be here with all of you.
Thank you. Natasha Pedretti.
Hi, I have an agency called Special Needs Consulting. I do CLTS services, and I go into the home and work with families and children on emotional regulation or daily living skills, many things.
Thriftless Job Finder. Oh, she went off mute and then back on.
There we go. Now can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I'm Ellen Clayson, owner operator of Thriftless Job Finder. I do employment skills and individual skill building in Vernon, Crawford, La Crosse, Monroe County. And I help usually teenagers that are getting ready to go into the employment and adults.
Okay. Anybody that I missed? Just unmute and then introduce yourself, and we'll try not to talk over each other.
Hi, I'm
Hey,
Tammy
Paul.
Els from Evergreen Manor, the manager. We do have clients with CCS.
Hi, I'm Angie Grogan from Trailways Counseling. I'm a partner and director of operations. We provide CCS for the RIC region, and we also so we have an office in Toma, and then we have an office in Wanakee, and provide CCS, both ISD and therapy for the southern region of the state as well. I did want to let you guys know that we do have a few mentors in La Crosse who have availability. So if anyone's needing a mentor in the La Crosse area, we have some openings. We are working with a software engineer to automate our billing process, and it's getting close to being done. So that's our exciting thing right now, to do our CCS billing so that it can be much simpler for the staff and have less prone to errors for you guys at the billing department there. So we're super excited about that.
Hi, my name's Eli Tripp. I'm with CC We Adapt, and I apologize if you already said that. My internet cut out when we were at the C's. But we do peer support and mentorship and we work with CLTS, CCS, as well as with the waiver program. We also do respite services and tennis support services, as well as therapeutic excursions, where we take our kids that are enrolled either in CCS or CLTS or the waiver program on multi-day kind of therapeutic adventures that might be like rock climbing or hiking or something like that. And we really like to emphasize the physical activity and physical fitness in this.
Hi, my name's Kelsey. Sorry. And I'm here from Corporate Guardians. We offer guardianship of person and of estate, trustee only, and I think on a case-by-case basis, rep payee. You may have been familiar with Jessica Downing, is also a guardian of person in the La Crosse area. I am now joining the bunch because La Crosse has grown more. So I'm in Vernon County and basically the southwestern quadrant of the state, including La Crosse and Trempealeau County.
Hi, I'm Tammy Els, the manager at Evergreen Manor. We are a CBRF and we have CCS clients.
Laura, I see you talking, but I can't hear you. Maybe. Well, we have Laura Mathis on. Anybody else?
I'm Amanda Falkers. I am the owner of AJ Falkers Counseling Consulting Services. We contract with CCS to do psychoeducation, substance use, and psychotherapy services. We do have some individuals with openings for psychoeducation, and we will be adding a psychiatric nurse practitioner to our services starting in September.
Anybody else? Any other vendors? Okay, we're gonna move forward. Well, welcome. And the next thing on the agenda is request for proposal. We're releasing a music therapy request for proposal that establishes a network of providers. I do have Sarah down as this one, but she is not here, so I
got it.
Thank you.
I can, yep, take that, Chris. So yeah, so we have a growing number of music therapy providers in the RIC CCS network. So that brings us to an RFP for a standardized rate for music therapy. So what this contract will be is we're going to fold it under the wellness management and recovery services category, because that looks at empowering members to manage their mental health or substance use by teaching them skills, psychoeducation, behavior tailoring, relapse prevention, development of their recovery plan, resiliency training, social support building, and developing coping skills through various methods. Why this is a little bit different than the standard wellness management category is that music therapists in the CCS statute has a different call out under a therapeutic specialist for recreational and music therapists, because there are additional certifications and training requirements, and it's regulated by DSPS differently. So that's kind of the call out and the separation for this one. So
Thank
that's
you.
just kind of a brief overview.
And I anticipate releasing that probably in September. It's just establishing a rate to start in 2024. As of right now, we have 2 vendors in the network that we need to just establish a standardized rate. Is there any questions on that one? Okay. Next up, we have Paul Menninger. So Paul works in the contract units, been actually working on pulling all the information together for the 2024 rate stuff that we send out to you every August. So he starts, I think, in June and starts getting that together. So he's gonna do a presentation that I usually do, but this year he's had it so long, I said it's time for, he knows better than I do, so.
Thanks, Chris. Yes, we're all enjoying our summer. I get to be your friendly reminder that winter is coming, and so's the new year. So next month, I'll be sending out the budget packets to vendors. So I'm just going to give a quick update so you kind of know what to expect with that. I'm going to see if I can share my screen. Chris, can you see that?
Yep, looks good.
Okay. All right. So looking at the timeline for the budget packet process, hoping to have those all emailed to vendors August 14th to the 18th. So during that week, mid-August next month, and then hoping to have those due back on September 8th. It is possible you can get an extension via email, but we do need to have a majority of our contracts in place by mid-November. So if we can get as many back as we can by September 8th, that would be great. So I'll be sending them out mid next month, due back on the 8th, and then this fall we will be preparing all the contracts. We'll be getting those put together, emailed out, and then those will go into effect January 1st. So for some of the services and some of the contracts, we have the consumer price index increases. Those started several years ago, and this allowed the automatic increase between 0% and 3% in years 2 and 3 of a contract, and then we go back to negotiation for year 4. Due to RFPs, new services and changes to existing services, some of you may be receiving 2 budget packets. some may have the CPIU and some may not. And we will be using the CPIU from July, which will be coming out in August. So there's two types of budget packets, phase one and phase two. Phase one is the negotiation of the base rate for services in year 1 and 4. So when you start in year 1 of a 3-year contract, that would be phase one. This does not include the CPIU. So I'll be emailing you a spreadsheet where you can just agree to continue with those services at the existing rate. Also included with that, I'll be sending along a budget request form if you wish to negotiate that rate. So this would be based on the state's allowable cost policy manual. The goal in the end is to have the option to renegotiate the rates every 3 years. So if you feel the increases in the past have not been enough to cover your increased expenses, this is a good time to look at that rate and set a quality base rate. So this is an example of what you'd be getting in the email. This will be your budget packet for phase one. It lists your vendor and contact information, the existing rate, and then it'll have estimated units for the next year. It says 2023 on here, but it'll be for 2024. All you need to do is just sign this, return it to me, and then we'd be set for 2024. If not, it will also include a budget request form if you wish to negotiate that base rate. This is just an example of what it looks like, but it'll have four pieces to it: face sheet, salary and fringe breakdown, expense distribution form, and then the profit calculation. So this could be sent back for negotiation, but if you are good with continuing with the existing rate, that spreadsheet on the previous slide, just send that back and we'd be good to go. So phase two is the one that involves the CPIU in years 2 and 3. Again, that CPIU will be known in mid-August, and we cap that at 3%. If you do feel that you need to renegotiate a rate before the 3 years is up and it's not part of an RFP or preferred provider solicitation network, you can request a budget request form. We'll also have those on the website. And then once received, we can review those and consider that as well. So it looks very similar to phase one. It's got your vendor and contract information, all of the services on your current contract. And then this one will also have estimated units for 2024, and this will have the CPIU rate calculated so you know what that increase is going to be. You can take a look at your services and the new rates. Also, good idea to keep an eye on the estimated units for budgeting purposes. And same as the other spreadsheet for phase one, this just needs a signature. If you agree to the CPIU rate increase, you can send that back to me, and then we'll be able to start working on putting together the 2024 contracts. So just a few items to note before I wrap it up here. If you do have multiple contracts, you could receive both phase one and phase two budget packets. So because they do look similar, I'll explain that in the emails, but it might not be a duplicate if you think you're receiving the same thing twice. We will have other documents in place. I'll try to explain all this in the email I send out to you too. But if applicable, we'll send along room and board cost sheets and anything else you may need. You will not receive budget packets for services where rates are non-negotiable, such as when we have retail price or rate set by state. That includes a lot of CLTSW rates, as well as CCS residential. Those are not going to be a part of this process as well, since we're using actual cost for those services. You also not receive budget packets for services that are expected to go out for any RFP or preferred provider solicitation before the end of 2023, because those processes will set those rates. So for your unit estimates that will be on the budget packet for both phase one and phase two, This will indicate units of service projected by our internal managers and supervisors here, and it'll be an estimate arrived at by looking at what was purchased this previous year and any changes in programs for the next year. And those estimates will be used to figure your total contract amount. So if you feel that the unit estimates are off, you'll want to just let us know so we can make sure we get those accurate. And then once you receive your budget packets, review those for your unit estimates, your services and rates, and they can simply be signed and returned via email, unless you're requesting a new rate via that budget request form. And throughout this process, if you do have any questions, feel free to email is the preferred contact, but you can also give me a call if you have any questions throughout this process. So, and with that, does anyone have any questions for me today? All right. Anything that you wanted to add, Chris? To any of that?
Most of the vendors on here are CCS and CLTS. So CLTS, again, you won't get anything during this process, but you will get something from us before we do your contract. It's just not a part of this. This is a huge process that we run reports and do things, and CLTS is just a little different. So we haven't incorporated in this process, but you will definitely hear from us probably in September, because we'll need to get contracts in place for CLTS earlier this year. And again, most of your rates are set through the RFP process, and that budget packet or that budget request form is filled out at that time. So if you're CCS, you're probably just going to get the phase 2 unless you have a unique service out there that would require us to do phase 1. So, but no, that was great. Much prettier than my Word document I showed in the past year. So good job, Paul.
Well, thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Any other questions from vendors on that? Okay. Angie is here for Children's Long-Term Support Waiver.
Hi, yes, I think Ellen and I are both on today. We don't have a lot of vendor updates. One thing that we wanted to mention is the ISRS vendor liaison position has been up and running. That is Annalise Trinka, who I think is on the call too. She has been doing some things, with CCS. So if you're a CCS vendor, you maybe already had correspondence with her. Just wanted to let the waiver vendors know that she is starting to learn some of our waiver stuff. So specifically kind of targeting some of the training requirements for vendors, maybe assisting with that process, and then the WPS stuff. So if you're a new vendor and are trying to get set up in the WPS system, the portal, or even how to navigate doing claims, we'll start pulling her in to help navigate that system for CLTS claims. So we're super excited to have another person help out because we know the CLTS WPS side can get very complex. So yeah, that's really our main vendor announcement. Do any of the vendors have questions or anything for us?
Okay.
Thank you.
Next on is the CCS supervisors for Comprehensive Community Services.
All right. Get a whole lot of me today. Yeah, we have a few updates, just reminders and things to go through. So a little bit different than CLTS. So I don't know if our whole agenda went out. So let me just do a quick, hey, here's what we're going to try to cover. We already talked about the music therapy RFP. We want to talk about invoicing and payments and some questions that have come through, just some FAQs. Want to talk about a new Medicaid audit protocol that is coming out. Do a reminder on DHS audit requirements. Share with you some updated training logs and some forms that we've been working on. And then revisit our vendor SharePoint that we launched last vendor conference, and just doing a walkthrough of that and checking in to see how that's going. So it's kind of what we got on task for today. All right, well, let's start with invoicing and payments. Number of questions have come in, just kind of like, hey, how does the payment process work? When do I get paid? So just want to cover that common question here. So how the process works is as invoices are submitted for CCS, they get processed in the order that they're received. And then our QA team goes through some processes to make sure everything is up to snuff with Medicaid requirements. Our fiscal team then processes it through Medicaid, and that process takes time. Our goal is typically 8 weeks to try to get that in. So the caveats to that are it takes about 8 weeks from the time of a clean claim, meaning that that the errors are clean on the invoice. So if there's corrections and stuff, that tends to slow down the process and make it a bit longer. So yeah, that's our general goal, is about 8 weeks. We try to get ahead of the Medicaid standard. I know if anybody bills Medicaid directly, the general Medicaid standard is about 3 months or 90 days. We try to get ahead of that as a consortium and try to get checks out to you sooner than that. But that is kind of how the process goes, just from a broad level. I know some questions have come in like, hey, how can I try to, is there anything I can do as an agency to kind of speed that up or help out with that, just to kind of get the check to me sooner? There are a few things you could explore. I'll just throw them up here. But probably one of the big ones is if you have your own internal agency QA process before it comes to our QA. I know Christy's on here somewhere, but Christy's QA team, amazing team. They process over 10,000 invoices every month. So they are looking at corrections and detail level for over 10,000 invoices every month. And that's a lot to go through. So if you can do a quick once over, twice over on your end before it comes in, it just makes things go faster on their side when they see it and get through it faster. Another common hangup that happens is if you have a new staff who has started, do we have them set up in the system to process their billing? So if you send, hey, I had a new staff start, here's all their paperwork, and by the way, here's their invoice, that too will lengthen the process some, because we have to take time to get them set up in the system in order for us to bill. So if you have somebody start mid-month or at the beginning of the month, sending in their personnel documentation, like their background checks, reference letters, degrees, training logs, that helps speed it up so that by the time we receive their invoice, they are already in the system and ready to go. So that too will help. Another thing that our QA team and fiscal have named as super helpful is if some of those required fields for Medicaid notes, that they're clearly identifiable on your notes, definitely makes the QA check process go faster. So one of the newer ones that we've had come up is the location code for Medicaid. Some vendors, your note template has a clear delineation, hey, here's the location of the service. Some agencies, it's kind of hidden in the body of the note. So our QA team has to like read the full content of your note to figure out, did this happen at grandma's house? Did this happen at the office? Like, where did it happen? So if you have a call out or a highlighter or something that just kind of draws attention to like, hey, here's the type of service, the type of contact, the location of the service, just makes the process flow much faster. Our fiscal QA team has also said if you are submitting bulk notes, it is super helpful if you submit them by consumer and in date order, because your invoice is arranged by consumer and date order. So if they are flipping back and forth between piles of notes and invoices, if you just have Sam's notes and August 1st, 2nd, 3rd in order. It just makes the comparison check through go much faster, as opposed to, I know some agencies and some programs, they just kind of print off all the notes in date order. And so we're jumping between like Sam and Joe and Charlie and whomever. So that just takes a little bit extra time, and it slows down the process. It is what it is. The other thing is submitting early. So it's a first in, first out process with QA. So if you get your stuff in earlier, it gets out faster. And then the last one is setting up direct deposit. I know some of you still get physical checks, which is completely fine. But that adds probably about another week or week and a half to the process, because then fiscal has to print a check, get it signed and mailed out, and kind of however long the mail takes to get to you. So direct deposit, once fiscal approves it, it kind of gets to your bank much faster. So yeah, kind of can pause there for a moment. I know those are some questions we've been getting over the last couple months, just to kind of recap and share with you all in one shot.
Are you open to questions, Ryan?
Sure, if you have a question.
Sure.
Taking a pause.
So on the invoice, do we order them by consumer name and then the date order of that consumer and then jump down to the next one, rather than what I've been doing is just chronological and they're all mixed?
Yes, I mean, either way, it's getting documented on your invoice. I know it'll make it go faster and easier for QA and fiscal to process your invoice if it's by consumer and in date order.
Okay, thank you.
Because we have to bill out all the, to Medicaid, we have to submit by consumer. So then we'd have to pull all of Sam's stuff together. So if you have it organized, it goes faster. If it's mixed in, then we just have to spend the extra few seconds or minutes per line just kind of searching to make sure we got everybody. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, good question. Right. All right, well, I'll move us along to the next topic. This is kind of an FYI for providers. So CCS is a Medicaid program, and OIG is the Office of Inspector General. So they are the audit entity that oversees Medicaid spending to make sure that we are being responsible and resourceful and just checking to make sure everything's going all right. So what OIG, Medicaid, is going to do is, we were told last month, they are going to start a new audit process where historically it's, hey, a year or two after the process, we'll come through an audit and see kind of how you spent Medicaid and if you're following all the rules. What they are going to start doing at undetermined time is pre-auditing. So what that means is at the time of submission. So when La Crosse County submits your Medicaid billing on your behalf, OIG may flag your submission and say, hey, I want to look at this in more detail. So what that means for you all is they're just going to look at it more concretely. I have a slide for this one too. So what they're going to be looking at is mainly, did a service actually occur? That's their big question. Where is the proof that you did a service? Now, that seems pretty straightforward, because if you wrote any sort of content in your note, it should kind of reflect like, hey, I met with person today and here's what we did. And that is going to demonstrate that you provided the service. Kind of some flags to be mindful of is if you're copying and pasting a bunch of notes and it kind of looks like the same note over and over again, then that might draw some red flags as, was this a unique service and did it actually happen, or did you just copy and paste a note from previously? Another one that kind of draws some questions, maybe not some red flags, but just some questions, are the really short one-liners. where it's like, did something really happen? And is there enough content to show that a service actually happened? So again, just things to be mindful of. The other thing that we'll be looking at is, was the service provided by a qualified staff? Again, not anything you have to worry about because our QA process is set up such that if we don't have your background checks, your reference letters, your training logs, we don't process your billing in the first place. But they will ask us for to review all that. So that will be another piece involved. The third thing that they're going to be looking at is making sure that the service that was provided was medically needed or medically required to treat an illness. Where this comes up a lot, and we have a lot of discussions in the CCS program with philosophy, is medical need is different than want. So it has to be justified as a medical need and required to address a mental health or substance use need, not simply because a family or consumer member said, hey, I would like this, or I want this, or a provider saying, hey, this might be helpful, or hey, this would be good if we could get this. There has to be a medical justification for it, and it has to be medically required. So with that, within your notes, again, making sure it's clear. What did staff specifically do during their contact? Why was it needed? And how did the consumer show some level of progress or lack of progress? So what did you try? How did it go? Why did you try that? And if you're following like the general note template that we've thrown out, those are the 3 questions that are in the note body. It's like, hey, what was the service plan objective? So that establishes why we're doing this and what we're focused on. What did you as the staff do? Kind of answers question 1, specifically, what did you do? And then the third component is, how did the consumer respond to that? What did they do? Did they say this is dumb, I don't like it? Did they finally submit the 3 job applications you've been working on? They were able to do that coping skill that you've been practicing for months. What is that thing? So making sure your notes are pretty clean and clear on what you did, how did it respond, how does it connect back to the service plan? Because that is the 4th component that they're going to be looking at. They're going to be looking at the CCS assessment and service plans and saying, hey, does this note follow what the assessment says? Does this note follow what is authorized on the service plan? Just things to note is, I know many of you, especially if you work on the fiscal QA side of things at your agency, spend a lot of time looking at the units authorized. Hey, we're authorized this much time. Are we within our units? The other component there is, what are the interventions written on the service plan, and does your note follow those intervention lists? So we have like generic template language from Medicaid that we throw in generally at the start of a service plan. And then there's usually like some specific language for vendors of like, hey, here's your to-do list over the next several months. So looking at, hey, are the interventions that I'm doing and writing about on my note also authorized on the plan to be doing? So I just threw in like this recommendation. We try to do teaming as much as possible. So as much, if you're realizing like, hey, the authorized time isn't matching what we're doing, or hey, the stuff that we're noticing that needs work is not authorized or written in as an approved intervention on the service plan, bringing that up at the consumer team meeting or talking with the facilitator to say, hey, can we adjust the plan? Because this is what we're seeing, this is what we're working on. It seems to be meeting the needs. And just talking through about getting the plans updated. So again, kind of what that means is just making sure that your notes really are following all the Medicaid guidelines. That's really the big impact to you all. You may not hear that these audits are happening because we have a lot of your documentation already. So there shouldn't be any additional asks that come of you if anything gets flagged. But just kind of letting you know that if there is an odd conversation that comes up saying, hey, you were audited by Medicaid, this is kind of the context of that.
Ryan, I have a question. As far as if we get audited and stuff, and you had said before about the direct deposit, to set up a direct deposit. I'm going to be doing that. I wanted to do it sooner, but it just worked out. But I'm going to just at least get it done right now, so it's done. But how does that go for the pay stubs? And will we be able to get a copy of our pay stub?
Yeah, I didn't know if Ryan knew, but So
Okay.
just so you know, if you want to get set up for direct deposit, just email me and I can get you set up with finance. But they email then your pay stub. So that's how that works.
Okay. Do we set up the account with Wells Fargo first? Because I know
No.
it has to go through Wells Fargo. Do we contact you first?
Contact me. I give finance your email, business name, and then they send it to Wells Fargo, I believe, and then Wells Fargo will get a hold of you. So if you've already been through that process and gotten some from Wells Fargo, then you just need to do something with Wells Fargo. But if you haven't contacted me to get set up, that's how kind of the chain, that's how it happens.
Well, if you want to set me up, that'd be great.
Okay.
But yeah, okay. So as far as auditing, so any of our reports, they will get a copy of from you guys. And then as far as the other, like I know according to our contract, we have to get a different, you know, it's a quite a big thing. Because my accountant says she can't do it. I'd have to go to someone else. So do you have any idea? I mean, is there a list that you guys know for people that do audits that would understand the CCS program? Because I called up a couple accountants in La Crosse just to ask them, and they're like, we don't know anything about that. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, we can jump ahead to that since you brought it up, Ellen. It was on our talking point because that has also been a frequently asked question. Is it's the DHS audit, and it pertains to agencies that receive over $100,000 in any government funding. And I know the clarification is that is any government funding from any county or program. I know some of the confusion is, well, I didn't receive $100,000 from Rick, but it's any government funding. So if you have Medicaid, Medicare funding from Rick and RWC and Central Health, all of that gets added together on the state side because it is a Wisconsin Department of Health audit. So yes, just wanting to talk through that a little bit and just kind of clarifying, because I know some agencies were like, "Ooh, I'm just a little confused about this." And since Rick, we don't track all of your agency's fiscal reports, we don't know how much you're making from other programs or other counties. So we may not always know to notify you, hey, you might need to go start researching for auditors because we don't know who you all do business with or keeping track of your books. So, but I guess, Chris, I know you've worked through this with other folks. I don't know if there's any other like resources or additions
Right.
to kind of that topic.
I can, if you get a hold of me via email, I can send you auditors that we've gotten audits from other vendors. I can say that I'm hearing back from, it's good to do it early because I'm hearing back from vendors that auditors are short-staffed, just like the rest of the world. And that they're not necessarily taking new clients, but I can definitely give you a list of auditors that we've seen audits coming in from for other vendors, and you can reach out to them. And it is, you would want to ask for a DHS audit. So that is, but I can definitely give you some resources. So.
Well, I haven't made that over 100,000, but my question is this: if they like red flag it, because I'd heard on the news that they were talking about doing this too, that that they're going to be doing more in-depth stuff. And if they just happen to pop my name out of a hat, I just need to know where, what all information. I know you guys got the case notes, and I've got them on a flash drive, and I've got them, the emails that I've sent you. But as far as what other information they need, is there any way that is there a list out there, something that if you get audited, I mean, what items do you need? If you call me up and say, hey, Ellen, guess what? Your company got red flags. So what am I, so I know what I'm going to need if it ever happens.
So I think we have two different audits going on here.
Yes.
We got Ryan's OIG audit, and then we got the provider DHS audit. So Ryan, maybe you can.
Yeah. So the OIG Medicaid audit, what is required of that one is, yeah, they would talk about, we want to see, did the service happen? So that's going to be, they want to look at progress notes. Was it done by a qualified professional? So they're going to look at your background, personnel documentations, training logs, supervision logs, all that stuff. They are going to see, was it medically needed and justified? So that requires the CCS assessment and service plan, which the county would have. That's what they're looking for in this OIG audit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yes.
Thank you. That makes sense now, because
Yeah, and that can happen before you hit the 100,000. Like that could
Yes.
happen to any claim that we
Right.
turn into Medicaid. Yep.
right. That's why I got a little confused when you said the 100,000. I'm like, well, I'm not doing that, but I thought I had to watch, just in case that they pull my name out of the hat type of thing. Which with the way my luck's been going, yeah, it could happen. Which I'm
And
not
if
worried
anybody-
about it, but,
Yeah. If anybody's interested about what an audit, like an agency DHS audit, would ask for and what types of things you need, I do have a webinar that was recorded by Clifton Larson Allen, that really was recorded. I went to it just to kind of see what they were telling vendors, but it really was put together for vendors that are coming to that point of hitting that 100,000. So if there's anybody that wants a copy of that webinar, I can definitely send that to you also if you let me know you want that.
And we do have it posted on our provider SharePoint site that will kind of do a quick walkthrough at the end too. And I
Great.
can show you where that is too for those that have access to the SharePoint site.
And Ellen, I'm just going through it for the first time with an auditor, and the main things is they just want to know where your spending is going and that you're using it correctly. And so you're putting it back in the business. It's all out of the one account, and you're using it the right way you should be. And that's the main thing, is if you have staff, if you have other people, but if it's just you, they just want to know where the funding is going.
So yeah, it does get confusing because there are multiple audits. CCS has oversight from multiple jurisdictions. Yeah, there's the DHS audit. There is the Medicaid.
Brian froze.
There's just a lot.
There he is.
And I froze. So back. But I don't know where I cut out, but I was just naming. Yes, it's confusing because the CCS program has oversight from about 4 different jurisdictions. So there are about 4 different types of audits. Typically, the ones that impact you all the most are, yeah, the Medicaid OIG audit, the DHS fiscal audit that we're talking about. And the other one is the program statute rules, where it's kind of all the same stuff, just making sure all the paperwork is in the right spot and completed. All right. Any other questions on audits? Any of the audits? And I'll jump to trainings. So kind of as we were hearing about the OIG audit, that pre-audit of reviewing notes at time of submission, we know that pre-COVID, we used to have a pretty regular rotation of the progress notes training for CCS staff, and COVID kind of threw us off our rhythm for a bit. So Annalise, Trinka, and myself will be doing some progress note workshops here in a few months. Just finalize these dates. So first look here. But we're going to break it up. Historically, we've just done 2 hours and tried to cram it all into one. And I think over time just hasn't been terribly effective, or not the right people at the right training. So we're going to break it up. A writing workshop, which is more of like, what do I write? So this might be more for your direct staff of like, hey, how do I change. I played Monopoly with a youth for 2 hours into something that come like, why did I do it? How did they react? What am I looking for? So we're going to spend some time on the writing of the content component. And then we're going to do a sequence on billing and invoicing. So this is going to look more at the billing side of things. What is billable versus non-billable, walking through the invoice and the billing summaries on the notes. So this one's going to be a little more QA fiscal level focused. So, so if it makes sense to attend both, feel free to come to both. August 31st, we're going to spend like the whole day on notes. So the morning is going to be on the content and the afternoon is going to be on billing and QA. And then the week of September 25th on Monday afternoon, we'll do another round of the writing and then going to do the billing and invoicing things. So we'll send out some more information to like register and sign up for these, but just kind of some save the dates at this point. Great. So building on that training concept, we did a facelift to the training logs for CCS and the rehabilitation worker. One, it's been quite a while since we've done an overhaul on these, and I know we got a lot of questions from new providers or existing ones, just for various reasons. So we just gave it a new look, just organized it a little bit differently, tried to clean up the language so it's clear of what exactly is being asked of this topic that we need to get. So all the same required trainings are still there. It's just organized differently. One that I do want to draw your attention to is this one, number 12, Human Service, Professional Ethics and Boundaries. Just to let you all know that there are conversations happening at higher levels across the state talking about if this is going to be a requirement for CCS providers in the near future. It is not right now, but just wanting to put it on your radar that it might be coming soon. So this would be, if anybody's like a social worker, you have the social work code of ethics. Peer supports have peer support code of ethics. Counselors have counseling ethics. What they're examining is what is if you're a rehab worker or not one of those licensed credentials, what is the ethics code or what is the standard for ethics and boundaries? So we too are kind of starting to do some research on what that looks like and how that could be. But if you want to start exploring yourself, it is highly encouraged that you do so. And just start exploring that. So it is on the training log, but it is not required. It doesn't have one of these red stars. It is a suggested training. Okay. But with that too, with the training logs, I know the feedback was a lot of the links were broken. So that too, we went through and updated. So if you scroll down further on this form, just copy and pasted the same setup. Lots of different links for online trainings, reading, watching. There's some online training modules you can go through just to get some different resources. Again, CCS does not require a standard training. It just says cover this topic in some way. So various resources out there. Just made sure these all worked last week. So everything in theory should be good until it's not. So yeah, we did that with the orientation for CCS. We also did the facelift for the rehabilitation worker training logs. So again, a common wondering is when do I do each of the training logs? The rehab worker you're doing before you start CCS. It is essentially the standard is like there's some training or experience in mental health before you start CCS, and maybe that's a bachelor's degree. Cool. If you don't have a bachelor's degree, you're getting a crash course or an associate's equivalent in mental health. That is the function of the rehabilitation worker training log to say, hey, I know a little bit about mental health and recovery field or human service related work. So again, there's topics that are required. We went through and made sure there are some suggested trainings out there with updated links. Again, if you have other resources or other connections to meet those requirements, great, go for it. If you want to share it, cool. We'll add it onto the list of suggested training sites. See, the chat is moving. I haven't read any of the questions, so. Okay, cool. We're just clarifying dates of training. Oh, great question. Where do I find this? That is the transition to our next thing. Is vendor SharePoint is a great spot to find all of this stuff. Last vendor conference in March, we were sharing the launch of our centralized library called SharePoint through Microsoft. This is going to be the central place that we store documents, training resources. Many of you got an email via SharePoint because we're moving our email distribution list through the SharePoint network. So this is our central place. How you can access it is emailing the leadership here at ccsoups@lacrossecounty.org. I could throw that in the chat, or maybe Ellen or Emily can do that. Just email us, say, hey, I want to get set up with the SharePoint site. We just need your name, your email, and kind of what your role and function is. So that way, if we need to send out like a fiscal email, we're just emailing the fiscal people, or if you're a direct staff, it just looks different. But yeah, so kind of what it looks like is you'll get a link that says, hey, you've been invited, click here. If you don't have a Microsoft Office account, that's okay. It just walks you through a quick like 5-step process to enter your email, make up a password, pass the robot test by clicking the bicycles or buses or whatever the picture is of the day. And it gets you in. And what you will see is this website where we have some FAQ, common asked question documents. All the different forms are stored in one of these libraries. So general information, what is the CCS program about? You can find here where we have copies of the state statutes, the Medicaid rules, links to the vendor business meetings. So this meeting that will be recorded, the link will be posted out here. So just general, what do you need to know about the program? General program documents and templates. So this is where you would find the training log examples. So in here is training log, CCS provider orientation, training log for the rehab worker. That webinar that Chris was referencing early on, the DHS audit, we have posted out here. So if you want to watch it, the 1-hour webinar, and get more information on DHS audits, I have that there. Our most common, our most recent version of the invoicing template is out here. The progress note template. If you don't have a progress note or just need to revamp it a little, we have our suggested starter one out here. Just yeah, just different resources available to you. I have the training resource library. So some of you have been around long enough to remember my previous role was training everybody. So lots of recordings, handouts, PowerPoints, all different types of stuff are out here categorized by topics. Yeah, so if you have a new staff starting and, hey, we're trying to work through this orientation, or, hey, it's been a while since I've gone through it, I want to refresh my memory on how things work. We have different resources out here that you can go through. Trying to organize the folders to correlate to the training log categories as best we can, so you can find things easier. So yeah, those will be the 3 main ones that you have. We're trying to put out meeting invites. So if you want to join the vendor supervision and consultation
Ryan?
calls, or yeah.
I just have a question. For like the invoices and the progress notes, I'm going every week to check and make sure I have the correct version.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any way that we could get it so that it has the
what it is so we know that it's the
Yeah,
correct
well,
version? So we can see
yeah,
like modified on the, oh, wait, nope, I gotta redo these.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Because otherwise I'm checking all the time and I'm just thinking, well, I don't know. I always, for my business, I always try and do updated versions. And so I know if I got the newest one.
Sure thing. Sure thing.
I don't want to
Yeah,
make
there is a
Anchor have to send them all back.
yeah, because there is a modified column in here, but we can certainly do that where we kind of put in a core version date. Because I know sometimes what'll happen is we'll go in to look at the billing invoice and we don't make any changes, but it'll auto save and change the modification date. So yeah, we can definitely do that. It's a
Thank you.
good suggestion. I appreciate that. Yeah, which is maybe I'll just pause there. Like as you are using this, the hope was for this to be useful for providers. So if it's not helpful, please give feedback. I know somebody said, hey, could we get some frequent asked question quick guides? So we moved them to the top. So you're not like,